Hello, good evening. Welcome to Letty Speaks right now. Letty is speaking right now. I'm not coming in the capacity to read energy. I'm coming just to have conversation, just to talk. Definitely something on my heart that I feel is worthy of talking about. And whoever comes across it and listens, whoever it's meant for, I'm trusting that Spirit will deliver it or draw them to hear what needs to be said. Today we're talking about valuing self, and it's a message really to women, right? I relate to women. They could relate to men as well. When it comes down to it, it's all about understanding and respecting, what it is that, or who it is that we are, and what it means to value ourselves. That means self-worth comes from us feeling that we're good people, that we're good enough to be treated with respect, right? Self-worth means that we value ourselves and we feel good about ourselves, and we understand who we are and we feel good about who that is. And there's a level of compassion that we are able to offer ourselves and others, a level of self-respect that we're able to offer ourselves and others, and understanding that it's reciprocal. That which we offer, we should be able to receive that in return, right? And self-value is actually a little bit different than self-worth. Self-value is more on an emotional level, right? It's more behavioral. It's expressing, it's showing, it's demonstrating that there is that level of self-worth, right? And so it's understanding when your body needs to rest, and it's saying, okay, no, I'm not going to go to that function because I'm tired and my body has been in go mode for the last 7 days. I love you, but I'm not going to go because my body needs rest, right? That's knowing how and when to place yourself at the priority on your list. It's valuing yourself, or being in a situation that doesn't resonate or align with what you feel like you're worthy of, so you end up leaving that situation or walking away, right? That demonstrates that you value yourself. Okay? It's almost like driving a car or driving a vehicle. That allows us to really demonstrate that, right? That we are aligning with what it is that we value. And this shows up in many different ways, right? It's not just talking the talk, but it's also walking the walk. And, being able to align ourselves in a way where we're able to speak our truth, both self-worth and self-value are intertwined with each other, right? There's subtle differences. Self-worth is mental, it's knowing. Self-value is demonstrating, okay? It's walking the walk. And there's many ways that we can do that, right? One of the ways is to acknowledge the inner critic, right? We all have that voice that we fight with internally. And it's not always a kind voice, if we just want to be real, right? Whenever we get ready to do something good or something that's going to make us feel good or positive, here comes that little negative Nancy. Don't nobody care about that. We're not doing that, or that's not going to make a difference, right? Or whenever we get ideas on how we can improve our life, right? There comes that voice to come in to undercut our ideas or the faith or the belief that we are demonstrating in ourselves as we're going to move forward, right? And it's okay to acknowledge it. It's the inner critic, right? It's okay to acknowledge it, but understand it's just the voice. It's not you, and it doesn't get to dictate how you respond or how you move forward, right? You get to tell that voice to be quiet when it's not aligning with what you've decided you need to do to better yourself or to move forward. And so acknowledging that, okay? And this is something that we deal with, like, forever. And it's a part of us. One of the things that I love about the spiritual teaching of people like, I read a lot, and I listen to different people who challenge different perspectives around life. One is Deepak Chopra. I also listen to, they're not coming to mind right now, but they're kind of like people who delve into spirituality and delve into different aspects of how we can look at life. One of the things that they usually point out is, this is going to bother me, so hold on one second while I look up these other two. So Chopra is one. Also, I don't know if you've ever read Seed of the Soul. Beautiful book by Gary Zokov is another one. And then we also have New Earth as well by Eckhart Tolle, right? And so these are people that have challenged me and introduced me to another way of being. First of all, understanding that voice in our head is not us, right? It's just a voice. It's almost like a roommate, someone described it as. And sometimes you and your roommate don't always get along, right? Sometimes the roommate will be all up in business that they have no business being in. Sometimes you have to tell the roommate, I'm not listening to you right now because you're on a whole different level than I'm trying to head, right? And so it's understanding that the voice that we hear is not us. It is simply the voice, right? It's simply the thought. We can even think of it as a whole different section from our soul, from our authentic self, right? It's a whole different part. And so not everything that it's telling us is true. Not everything that it's saying is helpful or beneficial. Sometimes there's a need to shut up the inner critic, but first we have to acknowledge it apart from ourselves. So when we sit here and do this with me real quick, so take a moment and I want you to think in your mind, I value myself. And I want you to say that without moving your lips. Okay? Now you heard that. We didn't say it audibly. We didn't hear it with our physical ear, but we heard it with our spiritual ear, our mental ear. And the actual thing that heard it was actually not our authentic self, right? But it was a part of us that actually thinks. It was the thought, right, that heard it. And so when you think of that voice that speaks, understand that that is actually a whole separate part of our being. And many times it carries a different agenda. Not that it is against us and tries to lead us astray. Sometimes it'll say things in an attempt to protect us, but sometimes we don't need to be protected. Sometimes we need to be exposed so we can grow, and so it'll say, well, no, we're not going to do that. That's too risky. We need to do something that we're used to doing. Well, there's no growth in doing, what you're used to doing. So in that situation, that might be an opportunity for you to shut the inner critic up and say, no, we're going to do this. This is going to help us to grow. Yes, it's scary. I'm a little intimidated. I don't know what to expect, but we're going to step out and we're going to do this, right? And so there's many of us that live our whole life in our head, right? And we give our complete power over to this thing that we call thought, when it's really not that powerful, right? Because it's just a part of who we are. It's not the all of who we are. And it's definitely not the core, the authentic part of who we are. And so many times we're just living on autoplay, right? And we're not realizing how much we're giving over our power to that inner critic. But the first step in overcoming that is realizing it. When you have those thoughts, right? Even the bad thoughts, right? When I came to realize that, I began to understand, oh, that's not me. That's many times that could even be someone else. For those of us that are intuitive, we could be, feeling someone else's energy or reading someone else's thoughts, right? It could be so many other different things. And it's understanding that you are not your thoughts, right? And so when we talk about valuing ourselves, it's first acknowledging that you're not your thoughts. And you can actually take your power back when it comes to how you think and you directing your life and not allowing that voice inside of your head to dictate it. Because 90% of what's being said in your head could be a lie. It could be, trying to protect you. It could be something that was planted, in your childhood that's actually not even true. And so it's understanding and being able to separate ourselves from that thing that we call the voice. Secondly, how we allow ourselves to value who we are, what we are, is to be able to receive a compliment. So next time someone compliments you, and this was something that I had to learn because, I was raised in the church and we're supposed to be like super, humble and not haughty and puffed up. But that doesn't mean you can't receive a compliment. And I remember being in school and coming across a teacher, and we were having a discussion about this, about being able to receive a compliment. Because instead of receiving the compliment, I thought that was being, puffed up and proud and egotistical. And so many times I wouldn't even say thank you, because to me, that meant that you were thinking that, you're all that in a bag of chips, when it could be, I found that was not further from the truth. And again, right? Being able to understand these stories that we're telling ourselves in our minds. But next time someone compliments you, kind of notice if you're quick to shirk back from that compliment, or do you dismiss it so that you don't, pull in too much attention, right? Or that you don't come off as needy, or, however you receive the compliment, pay attention to like what's going on in your actions and in your minds. Because the truth of the matter is that we don't see ourselves the way that other people see us. And so the next time someone says something beautiful about you, don't allow the negative response to win. Believe it. believe it, accept it, say thank you, right? Words are powerful. And it's almost like someone giving you a gift. When they compliment you, they give you a gift. And so I've learned to receive compliments as gifts, right? And then I turn around and give gifts back. I double it back, right? If you send me a gift, I'm going to double it back to you. But receiving a compliment is a way that we learn and we are able to value ourselves too, because it lets us know that, yeah, you're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. I appreciate that, right? Understanding your value, right? And not being dependent upon someone else to let you know that. Sometimes it's a reminder, but really it's a confirmation. It should be a confirmation of what we already know, right? And then being grateful for being able to even try, just being grateful for effort. You know, it's not always easy to show up in life, you know, even for the simplest things. And I'm not going to go pointing out different little areas, but it's hard sometimes. And we don't always stop to really sink into that energy of gratefulness and thankfulness and just how much appreciation that we should be showing ourselves just for getting up every morning. If you go to work, just for going to work every morning. If you have kids, just for making it through the day, being able to take care of your kids every day and not going cuckoo, right? You got kids, you know it's not easy. And, you know, for those of us that take the responsibility of that, you don't just get to get up and walk away when things get hard. No, you're there for the sick days. You're there for the birthdays, the holiday, right? We don't get to just drop in and out, right? And so if you are someone who gets up every day to take care of your kids, like, be grateful for the ability to show up and to be consistent and to examine how much you put in every day just living. If you're somebody that takes care of your parents, it's the same thing. If you take care of pets, if you get up just to shower and take care of yourself and water your lawn, like, be grateful for being able to get up and show up every single day. That's one way to value yourself, to be grateful for everything that you get to do. Everything. One of the things that I'm constantly reminding myself of is that there is always, always someone who would love to be in your shoes. And you don't have to look very far to see that, to realize that, how fortunate you are. For every complaint that you have, there's someone that would love to have that problem. There's someone that doesn't even have that, don't even have half of that. And so being able to show up and be grateful for the little things, for being able to just show effort. If you're able to get out of bed in the morning by yourself, listen. If you're able to get in the shower and allow the water to wash the dirt and the smell off of your body, listen, tremendous gratefulness should be pouring all over our lives every single day. Listen, that's what it means to value yourself, your ability to show up and just do things that we take for granted every single day. Someone's laying up and can't even breathe for themselves, and here we are, not even taking the time to be thankful for the breath that we're able to pull in our body, right? And so it's easy to be critical, you know, even as we look back and we see like things that didn't quite go the way we planned or the mistakes that we made. It's easy to be critical of those things, but it's also easy to be grateful and understand that you did the very best that you could with what you have and with what you knew at that time. Listen, when we know better, we do better. And so being grateful is something that progresses us. It helps us to evolve. And so if you are in that energy of showing gratefulness every day, continue doing that. And everything around you responds to that as well. Tenfold. Your body responds to you being grateful to it. Whenever I start feeling pain, the first thing I do is start sending love down to that part of my body and showing my body gratefulness and showing my body love, right? That's the least we could do, is be grateful, because our bodies are the ones that's showing up for us. The mind wants to do many things. Listen, at my age, at this point in life, there's many things that I wish I could still do, but I know better, right? But I'm grateful for what I'm still able to do. The mind is willing, but honey, that flesh is something else, right? And as we get older, we realize how much we take for granted. The next thing too, in conjunction with being grateful, is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself often, because we're never going to be perfect. Never. We weren't brought here to be perfect. We were brought here to experience and to evolve, right? We're ever changing. If you find that you stop changing, it's time to be worried, okay? Because we're ever changing. If you look around at nature, nothing stands still. It may look like it, but when we get close enough and see close enough, right, you'll understand that everything is always moving. Even the air is always moving and changing. And so with that, it's necessary to forgive ourselves because of sometimes the imperfect ways that we evolve, right? But we're not meant to be perfect. And so along with that comes the grace of being able to forgive ourselves often, right? Not only when things don't go as we planned, but also understanding the fact that we fail with, even when we mean good, sometimes we can fail. And understanding that about ourselves, we need to also see others in that way, show others that same grace. Forgive ourselves often, also forgive others often as well. Practice that. Practice forgiveness and release grudges, whether we're talking about what somebody else did or whether we're talking about what you did or what somebody else didn't do or what you didn't do, right? Don't let that plague you and burden you to where you're carrying these heavy mental loads of offenses, right? It's heavy to carry all of that. And so practice releasing and forgiving people. It's free. You don't have to pay to forgive nobody, and it does a wonder when it comes to healing, right? Forgiveness can relieve you of all your pains, all your aches, right? And all your suffering as well. And so release that bitterness, because the bitterness equates to cancer in the body. Bitterness in the soul is the same as cancerness in the body. And as we all are understanding the power of energy, right? What happens inside also is replicated outside. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so this becomes necessity for us to release it. It's important, okay? And it's worthy, right? We're worthy of this. The fact that we're able to do this and heal ourselves by just forgiving, right? That's amazing. The next thing is practicing affirmations in the mirror, right? I love to do this too, because as I stated a moment ago, words are powerful, right? They're powerful, and they carry power with the intention that they're given, right? Just like positive words carry the weight and the possibility of miracles waiting to happen, right? Just like when we can look into our eyes, some people say that we're able to see into the soul through the eyes, right? Because it's a portal. Just got to talking about portals the other day. It's a portal to the soul. Well, Our words is the opposite. It's a portal from the soul. And so it's more potent. Okay. There's a saying that we shouldn't be so worried about what we're putting in our body. Not as we should be worried, but we shouldn't be as worried with what we're putting in as what we're spewing out, right? And so practicing positive affirmations is powerful. It's powerful. And I think we really have yet to understand. That's one of the biggest tricks that gets played on us, the power of words, and the ability to spell, right? We understand what that word means, to spell. When we're speaking, we're spelling, right? Not in the spelling bee sense, but in the creating energy and motion with our words. And when we do that, we create this deep energy around our psyche, right? And affirmations, especially if it's something like, I am loved and loving, or today I embrace myself as I am. Those are things that build us up and fill us with these positive intentions and this positive energy, and helps us to understand how valuable we are. We also can give attention to our dreams, whether you are writing them down when you have them, whether you just ponder on them and give energy to them. Some of you may journal your dreams or do something like a vision board. But however you give attention to your dreams, understand that our dreams are they're also continuous moving energy, like it's never ending. It's almost like a never-ending cycle of self-value and worth. And it's almost like a emanation of our deepest desires and wishes, right? And so giving attention to those, and that could be literal, that could be you actually having desires and goals that you're going after. It could also be something subconscious that spirit is pouring into you and giving you those desires and those aspirations, right? It works both ways. But when we give attention to those, we shine a light on those, and we're feeding our soul, we're feeding our heart, right? Whatever is brewing there, we're giving weight to that. And it's fulfilling spiritually, emotionally. There's nothing fulfilling than heading towards something that you feel called and you believe that you're supposed to be pursuing and doing. You're also teaching and empowering yourself to believe that you're worthy of doing that, of reaching that goal, of fulfilling that dream, right? Valuing ourselves, listening to ourselves, giving weight to what it is that you want, what we want. That's what it means to value ourselves. Letting go of comparison is another one. This is a huge one that we struggle with. Understanding how unique we are. Okay. That's huge. And I think that's partly because of the media. We're such a media thriving community. We're such a media thriving society right now. And the media gives us and feeds us what we need to think. The media actually attempts, I'm saying attempts because it's not true and it should not be true. The media attempts to give us our values when it's something that's internally given. It's not something that you can get from outside of yourself. Your values have to come from within. And understanding how unique we are and how there's no one quite like you. Like they can try, right? They can do, and speak, and they can walk, and they can attempt to dress like you, but it's still not going to be you because you're unique like that. And we all know that comparison is the thief of joy, is what it said, right? It's easy to compare ourselves to others and think that, we're late to the party because we're just now showing up, or we're just now coming to the understanding of something that other people have known for years, or that we're falling behind because we haven't done such and such and we're already this old, or that we're lacking in some way because so-and-so has this and this and this, and I don't have it yet. That's not true. Do not compare yourself. If that was supposed to be so, then it would be. It's not for a reason, because you're unique and you're you, and you have your path to live. So do they. And it's two separate paths, right? It's two separate paths. It's not supposed to be. Otherwise, it would be. And it's understanding that you are exactly where you need to be at this time in your life, because the Creator doesn't make mistakes. It's understanding, trusting, and believing that we all have our own paths to walk. And, divine timing is a part of each and every one of our lives. Instead of focusing on what others have that you don't have, or focusing, on where they are instead of where you are, focus on the journey that you're on. Focus on the journey that we're on, and get excited about that and the opportunities that you're about to head into right now, right? That's part of valuing ourselves. This is where we are right here, right? This is where we are. And so I have to embrace that, find the joy and the opportunities that's arising right here, right where I am. The other thing is finding ways to serve others, right? That's what this is about. It's about service, right? It's about service. And it's about coming into this way of being where we find what that thing is, or ways that we can do things that don't really benefit us, right? If I can say that. Or we simultaneously are able to fulfill our own self-worth and value while we're also doing something that is of service, right? As a whole, like giving to others more than just volunteering, right? It's offering something of ourselves that's uniquely precious and our own. And I always say, when it comes to giving, it's like, I don't want the shoes that, have been ran over and they like 30 years old. I feel like I would want those shoes that are still wearable. They're still beautiful. They're unique. I like unique stuff. And so when I go to give someone something, it's not going to be something that I don't want, right? The greatest statement of value when you become of service to someone, or you want to offer something, is to offer something of value. Because offering something that's not of value, that's not really, it doesn't really mean as much. Not that it doesn't mean anything, but it's the intention. You get what I'm saying? And so, and that could mean skill too. Something that you're willing to share, even if it's something around your time, right? Something that the community would benefit from you sharing or contributing to the world, right? That's part of valuing yourself. It's saying that you have something to offer. You have something of value. You are of value. And so that's one way to actually show up and value yourself, is to become of service, right? I don't feel like anything says I value myself greater, because if you don't value yourself, then you're not going to see yourself as worthy of having anything to offer, right? When you come to the point where you understand that you're unique, that you have something to say, that you have something to give, you have something to contribute, right? Then you understand like what you have. Not only that, you also begin to value it in a way where you protect it and you place value and boundaries on that, right? It's not just something that you give away freely either, because then that too says that you don't value it. Because if you don't really want it, again, like who else is going to want it? And so finding ways to serve others through finding the value in yourself and what you have to give is actually valuing yourself. The other thing is accepting yourself the way that you are. Okay, this is a huge one. Not trying to go back and fix things or trying to redo, right? Not trying to align with perfectionism, trying to go back and redo something in the past, or even trying to be overly occupied with showing up the right way in the future and it hasn't even come yet. It's almost like accepting this present moment. Like that's your gift. That's our gift. And it's accepting ourselves right now, how we are. And finding the way to show up. And I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It took me a long time to step into my authenticity and really enjoy what I like and not have to base it on what people thought I should like, or hide what I like because I felt like other people weren't going to agree with it. Who cares? Who cares? As long as it is life-giving and as long as it's aligning with my authentic self, listen, that was given for me to enjoy. And so it doesn't matter who doesn't like it. Who cares, right? That's what it means to be authentic, to be able to stand in this place of sovereignty, this place of solitude, and not base it off of anyone other than yourself, right? It's different than being selfish. It's more like being empowered. And then that also gives other people the encouragement to do it as well. And it also, that stepping into that energy is evolution. It's evolving. And it's progressing life. When you're able to show up as you are, that's when we expand, right? There's a poem that I love to refer to. Every opportunity I get, I do. It's by Marianne Williams, and it's talking about understanding the power that we hold, the glory of God that's been manifested within us, and the fact that it was not placed there for us to hide or to try to change it into something else or to try to shy away from it or to deny it. No, it was given for us to use. And then it asks in that poem, who are you not to use it when that's why it was given to you? Whatever that authentic thing is about you, who are you not to be that? Who are you not to be? If there's some gift that you have arising, right? How dare you go and hide that gift that was given to you, right? I'm paraphrasing, but that's how I take that poem by Marianne Williamson. Beautiful poem. Now I have to look this up for those of you that are going to want to find that poem. Marianne, because it's a beautiful poem. I may have to even post it on here. Who are you not to shine, right? When that's why you were created. Our deepest fear, right? Our deepest fear is that we are powerful. We're afraid to be powerful because then we're afraid that people will hold us to that standard now that they know who we really are. But who are we not to be? So that's a beautiful poem. Read that if you have not. Our Deepest Fear by Mary Ann Williamson. I'm just going to read it here. She says, our deepest fear is that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful and beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. You are meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we liberate our own fear, as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Okay? Beautiful poem. And so showing up authentically, as authentic as you can, is not only helping you, but it's actually helping others around you. It's helping life in general to progress, right? And so we're being called to do that, to show up just as we are, whatever that is. And I always like to add the quirky because I'm not afraid to admit that I'm quirky. Yes, and I love it too. I love being quirky, right? I couldn't wait till Halloween came so I can be a little silly and have a little fun and do some things that I don't get to do on a normal basis. I'm going to do it because that's a part of who I am. For me, I like to let my little girl come out sometimes. The unhealed little girl. She needs to come out sometimes and have some fun. The fun that she may not have had to have when she was younger, when she was supposed to be having it. It's not too late. She's still very much alive. And so, yes, I love my little quirky self, and I'm not ashamed of it either. And you shouldn't be either. Okay, so show up as authentic as you can. And don't worry about what people got to say. It's irrelevant. Don't settle for less is the next thing. If you're not liking where you are not a tree. You can move anytime you get ready to. You're not a tree. You're not stuck there. Okay? If you don't like it, change it. Change it. Right? Notice the things that you don't like and start to ask yourself, what would make you happier? Right? If you don't like that situation, okay, what is it that you need? Right? You don't have to tolerate anything or anyone who does not bring you joy and contentment. Okay? You don't. You don't. This is why I'm having this talk. I just haven't got to that part yet. And then when you do doubt, because we do come to these points in life where we doubt, remember, to persevere. Remember to be tenacious and don't give up on yourself because life is not perfect. I wish it was, but it's not. Some mornings we'll find that we're struggling to get out of bed for no reason at all. We really don't have anything to complain about. It just feels heavy this morning, But life throws us curveballs because we have to continue to move. We can't really afford to be comfortable. And so life throws us curveballs so that we will continue to persevere, right? If there's anything that could actually, cause damage to our self-worth, it's, thinking that we're not enough or somehow we failed or we can't do something. When that happens, and it does more often than we like to admit, we think about the dream, the end goal, the end game, like why we started this in the first place. Remember that, encouragement is never lacking. You just have to look for it. Okay? You just have to look for it. And final words around self-worth is picturing it like a cape or even like an umbrella. And self-worth is that thing that's underneath the cape or underneath the umbrella. It's like the core sense of who you are at the center of your humanity, of your humanness. And learning to value that. It does require like this gentle change in our perspective and how we show up in life and how we're looking at life. Small changes, however, those small little shifts have potent ramifications, and it's going to change in so many different aspects of life, right? Talking about valuing ourselves. What does that mean? Do we even take time to stop and think about what that means, right? And to tell you why I'm having this conversation today, I started to talk to the ladies, but no, I'm talking to everybody because we all sometimes need a reminder of how valuable we are and how much we are needed, how much we're needed, especially if you are understanding what you bring to the table and what you're contributing, right? Because the more we step into that energy again, the more we illuminate this light and bring others in, right, to do the same. And so what sparked this conversation today was I was sitting here and I was working today. And sometimes I have the pleasure of working at home. And all of a sudden I start hearing like these little voices getting loud. And it began to get louder and louder. Next thing you know, it turned into a yelling voice, right? So not only is it loud, it's like the whole neighborhood can hear. And it's turns out to be a man talking to, and I'm guessing it's his girlfriend or his significant other, his partner, and kind of giving, it sounded in the beginning like it was how can I say it? Like it was a pep talk is what it sounded like in the beginning. And it started off with, I don't understand, I seem to always have to kind of pump you up and encourage you. This is the man. Pump you up and encourage you. And, I'm just trying to understand why it always has to be me encouraging you. And, and so, this goes on for like an hour and it's getting louder and louder. And it goes from this encouraging talk, it starts to escalate, right? And I don't ever hear the woman say anything. It's just the man talking. And so after about maybe 45 minutes or so, I'm starting to feel in the tone of his voice, and I'm starting to read into what he's saying and how he's saying it and how he's grouping these phrases together. And I'm starting to read into it was the weirdest experience because I started to read into like what he was saying and the intentions behind what he's saying. And it started to get a little bit manipulative because it changed from this pep talk, and then it began to become you know, whenever people give you accolades, you know, it's always such a good job. But what they don't know is that I'm the one that made you get up and do it. It wasn't even you. You know, it started to slowly shift to this very manipulative language that he started to use and these manipulative phrases. And then it got outright abusive to, he even referred to her as a ninja. Y'all know what the keyword for ninja is, right? And I was like, wait a minute, I don't even think you're, you know, able to even be saying that word, right? And he's referring to her this way. And then he goes so far to start calling her MFers and Bs, and I'm just like, okay, I have had enough. I can't do it no more. And it began to remind me of some of the things that I've gone through in relationships, where I've experienced that type of manipulation, because that's what it was. It was manipulation, and it was someone who knew exactly what to say. And it almost felt like I was reading into his energy while he was, you know, orally spewing these words. And we just got to talking about words, right? How powerful they are. And spewing these intentions on his partner, whoever she is. I don't even know who she is. And I began to understand the reason why he's choosing these choice words, why he's framing these phrases. He is trying to deduce a certain reaction from her. I'm gathering that he wants her to do something specific. And this is his way of getting that done, right? Not to mention, you know, aside from the language he's using, the phrasing, the very manipulative speech he's using, he's shouting at the top of his lungs. I mean, to the whole neighborhood can hear. And I'm thinking like, well, why does the whole neighborhood have to hear this conversation that you're having, obviously with your significant other, as, you know, unsatisfied as you are with the situation, whatever that is, why does the whole neighborhood have to hear it? And I'm understanding the energy coming in is because that's adding on to this manipulation, right? Of getting her to do what it is that he wants her to do. So not only is it enough to spew all of this hateful speech and to try to manipulate her energy, right? But there's also the wanting to embarrass her. And by shouting and letting everybody know, right, the conversation that they're having and the fact that, you know, she's having a hard time. I don't know, she could be depressed. That could be why she's needing all of this extra support and doing things and staying focused and following up. But it's not for the neighborhood to know. It's not for the neighborhood to know. And so yet another tactic in this person trying to manipulate their partner into doing what they want them to do. And so I don't know if it was about money. It is the beginning of the month, right? I don't know if it was about just wanting to get her to do something, but I kept thinking and feeling like the intent behind the words and him, you know, calling her all out of her name and the whole neighborhood can hear it. How embarrassing is that? How embarrassing is that? And immediately it caused this a level of like righteous fear. Righteous anger to rise up in me. And what ended up happening is I ended up going to the window and I was like, shut the right? And I slammed my window closed because I'm like, we don't need to hear that. The neighborhood doesn't need to hear the fact that you guys are having issues. Like, you could sit down and have a powerful, potent conversation, like with talking like this. You don't have to. And so that tells me that there's a level of manipulation and abuse happening there. It's none of my business. I don't like to get in people's business, but you made it my business when you began to tell the whole neighborhood what's going on. And so, I had a moment there earlier because that for me was a little bit triggering, because I've had situations like that where I've been connected with someone who thought that they could also control me in that way. And it worked for a minute, right? But Spirit had other thoughts about that. Spirit had other plans for me. And so I'm grateful that I was pulled out of that situation. But it kind of triggered some things. It triggered some things in me. And thinking back to, again, what it means to value ourselves, what it means to value ourselves. We need to value ourselves. And if that means that you need to be alone, for you to have self-dignity and self-respect and consideration, none of these things that I named here, when we were talking about self-value, none of those was dependent upon you having someone else at your side with you. This was all stuff that was just internal confirmation, internal practices and acknowledgments, internal building, right? And so if it means that you have to be alone to recognize that, then so be it. That's what it means to value yourself. That's what it means to value yourself. And I just, for the life of me, can't understand. I guess I can, because, again, I was there. That was me. And I could never see that now that I know who I am. But it hurts. It hurts, right? It was very triggering and it hurts. And so, but we have to value ourselves. First of all, understanding what that looks like. What does it look like to value ourselves? And if that is not what we're seeing around us, and I don't care who it is, there's even times where you have to walk away from family, right? It doesn't have to be a situation with your significant other, right? But even with family, there's a level of having to set your precedents around what it is that you're willing to take and what you're not, right? And it all has to do with how you value yourself and understanding what you're worth. If you're giving out foolishness, then maybe you need to do some self-healing, right? Because you can't expect that in return. But if you're someone who gives out love and respect and you help people and you uplift people, at the very least, you need to accept nothing less than that. And so that means that sometimes we even have to turn away from family, right? If they're not able to come on up to where we are, right? Sometimes we have to turn away from kids, our own kids, right? Because when they get to a certain age, somehow, and we all know because we've been there, right? Somehow they tend to think that they know more than we do and that we were just born yesterday. And it's like, really? Okay. Some of us can learn by stories and by other people's mistakes and experiences, and others of us, we got to go out there and experience a little bit, and that's okay too. Sometimes it's even kids that we need to set standards and boundaries with, right? But no matter who it is, okay, learning to value ourselves and set that standard for ourselves. And if life is not what it is that you need it to be, you are responsible to change that. We're responsible to change that, to create the circumstances that's going to bring the contentment that we desire. We have the ability to do it. And so we can't wait for somebody else to come and do it. As I was hearing the conversation, I think that's what his complaint was. It was, I'm the one that has to motivate you. I push you to do things. Even when you do things and you get accolades for it, it's really me that's behind that. You didn't really do anything. I made you do that. But at the same time, okay, well, who wants to be with somebody where you have to make them do what they need to do? And then who wants to be with somebody who, if you're going to help me, you're going to sit there and complain about it or brag to the world about it, right? You see how that don't quite, settle good on my stomach. But I hear what he's saying. I feel like there's a better way that he can relay that than what he did. There may have been other motives behind that scenario, but that was disturbing for me. It was triggering, it was disturbing, and we have to value ourselves. We do. And if we don't know what that is, being alone actually gives us the opportunity to find out what that is. Being alone. Because I could do bad by myself, right? I can be unhappy and miserable by myself. Why am I with someone that I'm unhappy with and miserable with? That doesn't even make sense. That just says that there's work that needs to be done. And I've come to understand that even before you even consider getting with somebody, there should be a level of contentment with you. You never want to get with somebody when you're needy or when you feel like you have to have something, right? Because you're setting yourself up for disappointment and you're setting the other person up for disappointment too. I think the happiest people are people who come together, but they really don't need each other. They're coming together because they just like, I'm content and I don't know, I just like being with you. I don't need anything particular. It's just, we complement each other. Like, I enjoy your company, you enjoy mine, And that says that there's two people who are very confident and comfortable and content with their situation. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're not going to die. If it works, you're not going to die. If it don't, it just develops naturally. It develops, very organically. I think those are probably the best types of relationships. That's why I think when you have people that are friends and they start to kind of see each other with a little googly eye, but they've already kind of accepted each other in the purest sense of who they are. They don't walk in, with certain expectations, or they don't walk in saying, ooh, I don't like that, but that's okay because we're going to fix that. They don't walk in with these preconceived notions of what it should be or what it's going to be. They're just there, But that's what, I just wanted to get that out there. I don't know if I've made enemies over there, but that's okay too, because we have to learn how to speak up for each other. When we see things wrong, we need to learn how to speak up, especially as women. Enough of this competitive stuff. We're not doing that no more. It's time to stand together, to stand up for each other as people, not just as women, as people. I happen to believe that, we're in a time where we may need a little bit of extra protection as women, but that's okay. There's some other, men that need a little bit of extra protection too. And so, but we have to start being a little bit more intentional about being there for each other. You know, life, I just feel like one day it's going to happen. I don't know, because I'm not the type to stand by and just watch folks get beat up or get treated bad. I may end up getting tossed myself trying to get in and save somebody else, but so be it. And somebody gonna get tased up real good before it's said and done, because I'm not the one. And so, but I feel like we need to start really valuing each other too, valuing ourselves and letting people know, no, that's not okay. That's not okay. We have to do better. And so if I've made some adversaries, I guess that's what it's supposed to be, because I can't be nobody other than who I am. And I feel like in a sense of the word, I am a bit of a protector in that way. Even though I know my boundaries, I'm not going to be all up in nobody's face trying to fix nobody. That's not my place. But if you don't want nobody in your business, then keep your business to yourself, especially when people are trying to work. That's all I'm saying. Shut up, right? And so that was my day, y'all. I just have to share that. And I felt like just understanding who we are and what it means to value ourselves is a good place to start. Is a good place to start. And if you don't know, like, this is not a speech to, condemn anybody. No, none of that. None of that. We're all a work in progress. We're all learning. Listen, it took me a long time. And once I arrived, listen, they say once you go black, you never go back, right? Once you start valuing yourself, you'll never go back to being less. Never, never. Because for many of us, we have fought tooth and nail to get where we are. Tooth and nail. I came this close, right, to ending up back in that type of connection, that type of mentality. I date a little bit. I've dated, and I've ran across a couple of people, and Spirit has been really close to me in those connections and very adamant about reminding me about where I came from. So much so that Spirit will place a face on somebody to remind me or to let me know, different body, same spirit. You don't want that, right? There's been a couple of people where that's happened. Spirit has placed their face. Spirit has placed this familiar face that represents what I don't want, what I have learned one of my greatest lessons from, right? So Spirit, don't be playing, right? Spirit is going to let you know, listen, you do have free will. And if you want to go back to that mess, I'm going to let you know what you're going back to. Don't get it twisted. And I'm not one that ever liked pain. I'm somebody that will avoid pain. I don't like pain. I don't like just doing stuff just because and not, being ignorant of the consequences, right? And so I've had a couple where I've had to really turn away. And it was a couple recently that I came close to allowing to come into my space and kind of take me back. And it just so happened that I chose myself. And the moment that I chose myself, my world began to blossom. and I began to evolve. And it was almost like the universe was saying, well done, good job, you're ready, And so it's just amazing how things work. But it's a process. It's a process. And these are things that I've had to learn through different lessons, right? From friendships to family to connections, romantic connections, right? They've come in different ways, but I'm here and I wouldn't go back for anything, for anyone. And if there's ever anyone that makes me feel some type of way, learning to listen to how we are feeling on the inside is important too. That's part of valuing ourselves too, is listening to your body, listening to what you're feeling when it comes to connecting with people, and trusting that. Not having to actually find out, right, before you understand, I should have listened. I was telling myself when I first met this person, but I didn't listen. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, or I thought I was just tripping. No, trust yourself. Trust yourself, and you will save yourself some time, some heartache, and some money too. Okay? But that's what I wanted to get on here and talk about. Just common everyday life things to, maybe someone will be blessed and encouraged with, the conversation, because it's all about helping each other. And I think one of the greatest ways that we can do that is by sharing our experiences. It's by sharing our experiences. That's part of being authentic too, not being afraid to be honest and say, I didn't just wake up like this, right? Matter of fact, I'm still working, trying to get, move forward, and I haven't reached my goal yet. I'm still working. I'm still struggling with some things, and letting people know, like, this is a journey. Till the day that we actually pass on to the next stage of our journey, right? We'll be working on ourselves, right? I'm still working. We're all still a work in progress. That's what it means to evolve. Never stop moving. The world that we live in is evolving. It has never stopped moving since creation, and neither do we. And the fact that it never stops moving means that it's constantly changing. Right? It's constantly changing. And so this is not about a relay race, who can get there first, because we never make it completely. We're a work in progress to the very end. But it's about the journey and being present in the journey and kind of enjoying some of the experiences on the way, some of the aha moments, some of the people that we get to connect with on the way. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted. Just having some simple conversation. I hope you guys are good. Send me good energy, y'all, because I don't know what to expect from over there, but really I don't care. I know I have, my spirit team is in place. We good. But I get concerned. We should be concerned when it comes to community, right? And not being nosy or being all up in people's business, but not being afraid to be helpful too. Not being afraid to speak out when needed too, right? Not being held hostage, right? No, we're going to speak up. We're going to speak some truth. And we're going to, I'm going to let people know, like, you need to handle that in a different way. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is because I don't know them, but that was my response. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for stopping by. It has been Letty, right? Speaking. And I may see you tomorrow with a little encouragement of the day. I didn't do it today. As you see, I was having a little bit of fun for Halloween tomorrow. That was okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that little dabble in. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And maybe something I said was encouraging, something that you needed to hear, maybe something letting you know that you are okay, right? Maybe something letting you know to step out and be yourself more, love yourself more, value yourself more, trust yourself more, whatever that is. I hope something was said. Forgive yourself, right? You're okay. We're in this together, and we're all on our paths trying to make it, okay? This was just a little reminder for some. Maybe it was new to others. However that came across, know that you are loved, okay? Loved enough, okay? All right. Until next time, thank you guys for listening. All right. Hit me up by email, okay? All right. Bye.